青儿，你终于来了。
青儿，你终于来了。
哼，昨晚还叫人家小依依，现在转头遇到你初恋又叫人家青儿。
好呀你，就知道你忘不了他。
你们都是我最爱的人。
还有没有其他女人了？说。
真没了，就你们俩。我已经和他说了我们情况。
才几天未见，怎么感觉
Yao Lao turned out to be quite a romantic, although he would never admit it himself. Everyone knows about his long-standing feelings for Xian Yi, but few people think about the fact that FairyQing was also deeply attached to him in the past. It turns out that this seemingly strict, reserved, and alchemy-focused man somehow managed to leave a deep mark in the hearts of several women at once. His life became not only the path of a master but also the path of a man who once chose duty over feelings, and paid for that choice with lost relationships. The story with FairyQing is especially memorable because they shared a rather short but very warm bond in their youth. It was never a fully developed romance. Yet in her gaze and in the way she spoke to Yao Lao there was a hidden warmth she never truly let go of. When fate brought them together again years later, there was immediate tension between them. Not hostile, but the kind born between people who could once have had much more than just acquaintance. Their brief glances, slightly awkward words, and FairyQing's quiet pride all revealed that she had not forgotten the past, even if she pretended nothing ever happened. Her story adds a very different shade to Yao Lao's character, a man who left a mark in the hearts of those he met along his path. FairyQing is one of the two great elders of the flower sect, the other being Fairy Hua. However, in the anime, it seems that only one of them was shown. FairyQing gives the impression of a refined woman. Her restrained authority commands respect, making her appear unapproachable. All members of the flower sect, including their leader Yun, behave with utmost reverence in her presence. Despite her personal connection to Yao Lao, she puts the interests of the sect first and makes balanced decisions, showing the responsibility of a true guardian of the flower sect. FairyQing is first mentioned when Xiao Yan arrives at the flower sect to assist Yun as her partner. After Xiao Yan mentions the name of his teacher, Yao Chen, FairyQing and Fairy Hua agree to his terms for the duel between Yun and him against Yao Hualiangjun and Hua Jin. After Xiao Yan defeats them both, Yun becomes the sect leader. When Xiao Yan advances to the level of Saint Do Shang and, following Queen Medusa's advice, decides to form an alliance to fight the Hall of Souls, he sends envoys to the flower sect to invite them into the alliance. It is FairyQing who makes the final decision to join. After she agrees, they go to the Falling Star Pavilion to establish the Heavenly Mansion Alliance. But in the anime, Yao Lao personally travels to the flower sect and meets his old friend FairyQing. She holds an important position. She is not only a woman of immense power. Her strength is at a high level of half-Saint Ban Shang, equal to Yao Lao's, but also a character who stirs the hearts of many fans. Her story intertwines power, emotions, and allies, and today it is worth speaking in detail about this friend of Yao Lao. At the current point in the story, her strength has reached the high or advanced stage of half-saint, making her the central figure of the flower sect. But her relationship with Yao Chen is far more intriguing. It is mentioned that she was in love with him in her youth, but it was never said whether he returned her feelings. Fairy Hua and FairyQing are extremely close, like sisters, and they shared the same teacher. FairyQing even had conflicts with her master because of her feelings for Yao Chen. In her youth, FairyQing loved Yao Lao. At that time, Yao Lao was completely absorbed in his goals: alchemy, teaching disciples, striving to become the best on the continent. He considered romance a waste of time and was simply not interested in it. Xian Yi was different. Her connection with Yao Lao was more straightforward. These were feelings that ended not because they faded, but because Yao Lao chose the path of a teacher and master. He was fully consumed by his disciples, his research, and his ambition to become the greatest alchemist on the continent. And this is what forced them apart. Their love did not disappear. It simply gave way to his persistence and obsession with his craft. In the end, he lost a woman who could have become his support, and she lost the man she believed in. These feelings were no less intense than with FairyQing, but far more tragic, because they were destroyed not by mistakes, but by choice. Why did they part back then? Once the greatest beauty of the flower sect, and she is still impressive even now, FairyQing had deep feelings for Yao Chen in her youth. For the sake of being close to him, she even dared to go against the sect's rules and argue with her own teacher. However, Yao Qin feared that falling into romance would distract him from training his disciple Han Feng, so he firmly cut all ties with her. Because of this, FairyQing grieved for a long time. For similar reasons, Yao Qin also rejected Xian Yi. As it turns out, Han Feng truly did not die for nothing. Yao Qin gave up 2 unmatched beauties because of him. After recovering from her difficult period, FairyQing focused entirely on cultivation. With the strength of a mid-stage half-saint Ban Sheng, she and Fairy Hua fought the old monster Tianming many times in the past. Their sects have been enemies for generations. But because of the enormous difference in power, even together they could only hold him back. Interestingly, both of these storylines, with FairyQing and with Xian Yi, reveal themselves most clearly when Yao Lao returns to the main events and fate forces him to seek allies against the Hall of Souls. His arrival at the Flower Sect in search of support brings the old story back to life. FairyQing grumbles that his personality is still the same, but her words carry more concern than irritation, which she tries to hide. She participates in the alliance not only as a leader and strongest pillar of her sect, but also as a woman who once would have walked beside him if he had allowed her to come closer. It becomes clear why, upon meeting again, Yao Qin failed to notice the spark of joy in her eyes and calmly stated the purpose of his visit. Because of this, FairyQing mentally scolded him for being so emotionally blind and, almost as a show of offense, said she needed 3 days to think. But in the end, for his sake, she still agreed to join the alliance. And at the alliance-forming ceremony she even nominated Yao Chen for the position of leader of the alliance. And the meeting between FairyQing and Xian Yi is almost hidden rivalry. A faint wave of jealousy passes between them, not open, but quiet and internal. They are like 2 paths that could have unfolded beside the same man but diverged differently, now crossing by chance. Their interaction creates an atmosphere of subtle tension, like scenes from a love triangle where no one speaks aloud, yet everyone understands what lies behind it, a story that has lasted for years. Through these relationships, the nature of Yao Lao is revealed. He is not only Xiao Yan's teacher but a man who once chose the path of strength and responsibility, and this choice left marks in his personal life. And the women around him, FairyQing and Xian Yi, each became reflections of what he could have had if he had allowed himself to be not only a master, but also a man capable of loving. But let us return to the core of the story. Regarding the alliance and the threat of the Hall of Souls, FairyQing did not rely on past feelings. Above all, she cared for her people. And in the future, as one of the 2 most powerful elders of the Flower Sect, she reached the level of 1-star Saint Do Sheng and took part in the final battle against the Hun clan, helping the Heavenly Mansion Alliance become the new ruler of the continent. After that, she remained in the Flower Sect, and her personal feelings and later actions were never mentioned again. To sum up, in the Battle Through the Heavens anime, Yao Lao's romantic ties are no less complicated than Xiao Yan's. In his youth, Yao Lao was handsome and incredibly talented, but his choices shaped his entire destiny. He consciously placed the duty of an alchemist and teacher above his own feelings, and because of this he lost 2 women who sincerely cared for him. FairyQing and Xian Yi suffered pain, but grew stronger, each choosing her own path. And Yao Chen continued walking a road where personal matters always had to give way to responsibility. Years later, when he met FairyQing again, he could no longer revive the past. Only respect and the faint shadow of old feelings remained between them. And here the question arises, would you want Yao Lao to grow close to someone after all? Perhaps reconnect with FairyQing, or maybe rekindle something with Xian Yi. Write your thoughts in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and see you all soon.